Good evening, everybody. My name's Lynne Doherty, and I'm the leader at West Berkshire Council. Welcome to one of our regular Facebook Live sessions. I'm going to go through what I intend to do with you this evening. Anybody observant amongst you will notice we're actually not in an office, but we're in a library. So we've actually taken our Facebook Live sessions on the road. So in a moment, I'm going to hand over to Fliss Harrison, who's our libraries manager here, to talk to you a little bit about the library service here in West Berkshire and what they're currently actively doing. Before I do that, I'm just going to tell you that tonight's session is very much going to be around both an update on COVID, a small update on COVID, but also talking to you a little bit about our recovery. While I do so, please feel free to put questions into the chat, and we'll take any questions as and when they come in. I'll talk a little bit, but I'm also really keen to hear directly from you, and I'm also very keen to hear what's on your minds as well. So please get busy on the chat. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to hand over to Fliss and let her tell you a little bit about the library service here in West Berkshire.
Hi everyone, it's really great to be having this event happening at Newbury Library here this evening. I'm so pleased that so many of our customers are now coming back to Newbury Library. I just checked the stats before coming on the call, and we had about 4,000 visitors to our West Berkshire libraries last week, which is really great. And the feedback that we're getting from our customers is that people do feel really safe coming into the library, and we've still got sanitizer here. We are still expecting people to wear masks, but I think people generally are finding it a very safe environment, which I'm really pleased about. So, at this time of year, many of you will know that our summer reading challenge for primary school age children is the main event that we promote. We weren't able to run a full challenge last year, which was a real shame, so it's lovely to have been able to launch Wild World Heroes this year. This is a collaboration. We've been working with the World Wildlife Fund, and so the theme of the summer reading challenge is all linked into that. So we're inviting all primary school age children to come along to the library over the summer holidays, read 6 books, any books they like, and then as usual they'll get stickers and a folder when they come in, and at the end of the challenge they can get a medal and a certificate. It's all free, and it's a really wonderful way of keeping up children's literacy skills over the summer. Also, there is a reading challenge for the parents too. It's called Grown Ups Too, and that is so popular. I think we're finding a lot of children are really keen for their parents to have to do a bit of reading as well at the same time, and there is a mini challenge for little brothers and sisters as well. So do come down, and we'd be delighted to see you all at any of the West Berkshire libraries. Thank you so much, and I'm just about to hand back over to Lynne.
Thank you. Thanks, Fliss. I hope that was a seamless transition. As I say, it's a new one for us going live on the road, and it's something that I'm quite keen to do to get around some of the great assets that we have in West Berkshire and share those with you. I just wanted to start this evening by just giving a very brief update on COVID, because I don't think I've spoken to any of you since the step 4 measures that came into place on the 19th of July. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to say, we're pleased that we're able to move ahead, and I'm really pleased, particularly for some of our hospitality businesses and some of those businesses that have been struggling, that all restrictions have now been lifted, and life feels like it's able to get back to normal, especially with the sun shining and summer ahead of us. I say that with a note of caution in my mind, because I have to acknowledge that the case rates for COVID here in West Berkshire have risen quite dramatically over the recent weeks. We're up at 400 cases per 100,000, which is high for where we have been. However, that being said, over the last few days that's slowed, and we're hoping we're going to see that actually decline. And I know nationally that's been the picture as well. So we're just watching at this moment in time. But I can't encourage people enough to continue to take sensible precautions. So when I talk about sensible precautions, I think, you know, if you are in crowded spaces, it does very much make sense to wear a face mask, not just for yourself but for others. Particularly, I've been volunteering here in the library today, and I've actually spent a couple of hours doing the reading challenge, and it's recognising that people feel differently. Each person feels differently about the current situation, and out of courtesy and respect to them, I think we need to just be aware of each other and be kind to one another. The other things I would say it makes sense to do is to continue with regular testing. And we've actually had outside today the test collection centre was here at the library today, so I've picked up a couple of extra packs, and taking regular lateral flow tests is one way that I can make sure that I'm COVID free to enable me to go out and about and go into meetings. The other thing I would sort of say is if you do get pinged, and I know there's lots of conversations going on around the ping pandemic, we do need to take those seriously, and we do need to isolate, because it's one way of making sure that we're taking the time out to minimise contacts, to not be spreading COVID at this time. And then the most important thing I can say to anybody watching tonight is that you need to make sure if you're 18 or over, that you have your vaccinations, whether that's your first vaccination or your second, because what is key, although we've seen cases rising here in West Berkshire, and we have started to see a slight increase in hospital admissions, it does tend to very much be amongst those that have not yet been vaccinated or may have only just had one dose. So we're really encouraging people to come forward and make sure that they get their vaccine. And if there was one message I would say to take away from tonight is please do come forward and make sure you get those vaccines. I don't intend to say very much more on COVID. We do continue to have our local outbreak engagement boards on a Monday evening, so they're fortnightly. If you're interested and you want to keep up to date, I would encourage anybody to make sure that they follow those, and you'll get the most latest information, and you'll hear direct from our public health teams. If we can just move on now, I thought it was worthwhile reflecting on some of the key areas for our recovery strategy. Fliss and I have already mentioned it's the school holidays, it's summertime, it's the reading challenge at the library time, and I would encourage everybody to actually participate in that. I know just before the summer holidays broke up, education and the lost outcome for some of our pupils is a real key priority for us within our recovery strategy. And I sat down with several head teachers, and we talked about that loss of literacy skills and how fundamental that was to learning throughout the course of a child's educational time. So things like this reading challenge really inspire children, and I've spoken directly to lots of children today who are really excited by taking part in a challenge. They'll get a certificate at the end of it, they'll get a medal at the end of it, and their real love of reading can be born through that. So I would just echo what Fliss was saying earlier about making sure you do take part if you possibly have children under the age of 11 for the challenge, or there's a growing up challenge, so there's no reason why any one of you can't come down to Newbury Library. There's lots going on over the summer, and we at West Berkshire are really keen to make sure that families recognise and know about all the great stuff happening here in the district. So we've put together a summer activity pack, and I feel sure that somebody will be able to put a link to that in the chat, but just to share with you some of those events and activities going on across the district. I know also the BID and the Visit Newbury website have been doing lots of activities. I also know things like the Corn Exchange and Greenham Trust have been. So there's lots of exciting stuff to take place over the school holidays. So please do look around and take full advantage of the offer here. We also recognise the school holidays are challenging in some areas, and particularly for those families that might find it a long time to have children at home and have been particularly badly adversely hit through COVID, perhaps from an economic point of view. And that's why I was really pleased that West Berkshire was able to extend the free school meals vouchers into the summer holidays. We have seen an increase in the number of children eligible for free school meals. So I was pleased that we're able to make sure we get those vouchers out to everybody. And there's been some really good work with regards to the holiday and food activity events that are happening across a number of schools. So lots of stuff going on through the summer, and for me that's really supporting some of that recovery work that we know we need to do within education. There's probably a lot more still to do, and I know when I was talking to the head teachers, they were really pleased with some of the stuff coming out from like the national tutoring programme, but the message coming home was this is long term. Recovery from COVID, and as far as education is concerned, is going to be a long term response. And certainly I took that message away, and that meeting was also, we had our local MP Laura Farris at that, so we recognise that, and we'll be looking at making sure how we work with that going forward. So yes. I'm just going to pause there and see if I've got any questions coming in. If not, I'm going to go and talk to you about some of the other recovery work. I'm on one monitor today, so you'll have to excuse me if I look around the room because I've been joined by a couple of my comms colleagues. I suppose the other two key areas with regards to our priorities for recovery are the local economy, and I'd just like to remind everybody that the Newbury Town Centre survey has been extended until the end of the month. So there's still an opportunity for you to feed back on your thoughts with regards to the emerging vision that we've been working on. So you'll remember back, I think I've spoken about this previously, we've been working with consultants to actually look at what we need to do to move forward as a thriving modern market town, and getting some of that feedback has really shaped this current survey. We want to just double check we're on the right lines. We want your views on some of the things that are emerging from that, so please take the opportunity to feed into that survey if you possibly can. And then the next piece of work that the economic development team will be doing is looking to procure in the same way to do a piece around the Thatcham Town Centre and the sort of regeneration of Thatcham Town Centre. So we're looking at the procurement process for that currently. And then obviously when we talk about development, I think, you know, we've got an emerging local plan coming through, and you'll see more about that and more coming out over the summer months as we move forward, and we'll be looking to consult on that important piece of work to make sure that we get the homes that people need within the area, so that people, when I speak to people, talk to me about, you know, where will their children live and how can we make sure people have homes here in West Berkshire. So that's going to be an emerging piece of work. And then with regards to local economy and recovery, I'm pleased that we're continuing our business grants. So those of you that have had the opportunity to apply, and I hope you found it a positive process with West Berkshire, we're continuing to look at that as money comes in to make sure that those are still being impacted, have that continued support. So there'll be more coming out over the next few weeks with regards to that. The only other thing I'd say, it's quite interesting when you walk around Newbury Town Centre that there are green shoots of recovery, and there's new businesses opening. So we've seen a number of new businesses. I was in town at the weekend and I saw the work going on at Next moving into the old John Lewis. You know, we've had a number of new businesses opening up, and we've got a number of new hospitality businesses opening up. So I think there's, you know, there is some positivity out there, and I just wanted to sort of touch on that with regards to the local economy. The other area that we've said that we will prioritise is our health and well-being of our residents. So when we talk in our recovery strategy, there's three key priorities, and the health and well-being of our residents is one of those key areas. We've done quite a lot of work so far on mental health. So we've been looking at the Surviving to Thriving Fund and what sort of additional support we can put in place, because that's a huge concern, and I've spoken on these about that previously. We're now really sort of turning our attention towards our physical health, and we've launched, I think it's today actually, this week, our leisure strategy consultation. So I'm really asking everybody to take part in that, because this is very much about the physical activity here in West Berkshire and what's important to you. So there is a new consultation gone live with regards to our leisure strategy, and I would really like to encourage everybody to take part in that. The other piece is a piece that I'm sure will be close to the hearts of many of you, and that is a consultation on the Lido. So as a teenager, I spent many a happier day down the Lido, and I know it's a very much loved facility here in Newbury. We always have people come into us and say, why can't it be open for longer? And why is it limited in the times that we can get it open when the hot weather starts, and it starts back in May and we haven't got the Lido open? And we always have the same response, which is, it's a very, very old structure, and therefore we have to wait till the groundwater levels go down in order to look at it's a very old structure which is impacted by those water levels, and we have to wait for the water levels to recede to understand what movements happened over the winter period, to look at what needs to be done to fix it, and then we need to fill it. So there's always this delay. So we're really keen to understand from you about what's important if we're going to do a big piece of work on the Lido. So we've just launched a consultation around the future of the Lido and what would be important to you. And I really encourage as many as people as possible to take part in that. And I think there's even going to be, I think it's a webinar, it might even be a Facebook Live session, I'm not sure of the exact details. But please do let us know, because for me this is really about the residents that use that facility and what makes that facility so special to us all. So please do take a moment. And these are the types of things we're also looking at, sort of our parks and open spaces, and I think it's the Love Your Parks week this week that we're trying to promote all of that wonderful green space that we have across West Berkshire. So again, this is all around physical health and how we can encourage people to take part on that. I'm going to pause and breathe a moment and just look at the questions. So we had a couple of pre-submitted questions that I'm just going to take. One of them was around the green waste suspension. So I think it's been well publicised now that because of the waste collection drivers and staff being pinged, we had to very quickly suspend our green waste service for a period of time, so that everybody would miss one collection. I've actually been contacted by somebody that missed their collection on the first Monday, which was before we were able to get the announcements out, and was the day that we actually found out that our contractor struggled to get round everywhere. They didn't make a full collection route on that day. Now, the agreement that we've had is that everybody will miss one green waste collection, and therefore ideally that collection should be made on the 2nd of August. Now I know that we've promoted that the service will restart on the 3rd of August, so I will take that question away and have that conversation and make sure that we put it up on the FAQs that have gone onto the website, because it's come into me this afternoon and I haven't got the response. As far as I'm concerned, it was that everybody would miss one, but I recognise there'll be a number of residents on those routes that may have been missed and don't want to miss that whole month's worth of collection. So please bear with me, and I will go away and look at seeing if we can get a response to that and put it on the FAQs part of the website dealing with green waste. The other question we've had around coming previously was around the park run, and I think we spoke about this at length last time round, and the fact that the park run has been taking place very, very successfully up at Greenham Common, and the impact that that's had on both the common itself and the numbers and COVID secure away. What I would say is our countryside manager was instrumental at setting up that very first park run, and we are committed to ensuring that park runs exist within West Berkshire, and I think he's spoken at length about this previously, so I will ask him for an update on where we've got to. But we are committed to the park run, and we do think it's a really valuable asset. We do have to look at the logistics of it and work out how we can ensure that. So I'm going to ask for your patience while we do that, but certainly it's something that is on our radar, and it's not being forgotten. So I thought it was just worthwhile saying that. The other question that was pre-submitted was around our green flag status for two of our parks. I think there was some social media put out on two of our parks having green flag status, and how can we increase that number. And I think some of the campaigns that we run around that sort of respect for our parks campaign that we've been running help us to do that. We all have to take responsibility for those areas. I mean, we will, as a council, take the responsibility of making sure they're maintained and upkept, and looking at how we can progress and develop them. But as individuals, we have to take on that responsibility as well. It comes down to a collective aim to do so. When I saw the question, I sort of also questioned how many of those green spaces are directly within our control still. So we've devolved quite a lot of these green spaces to our towns and parishes. So I think it's a good question. I haven't got all the answers to it, and it's something that I'll certainly take away and talk to our countryside manager about, and come back to you on. So thank you to those people that pre-submitted those questions. I'm now going to go to the questions that have been coming in, and I'm just going to scroll back to the top of those. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay, 1 moment while I just get to the questions. I've scrolled back to the top, which was what about our smelly food waste bins? I think this has been the concern for quite a few people, because obviously our green waste can also take food waste, and we've had some very hot weather, which is a difficulty, which is why what we've done is we've lifted any restriction on the number of times that you can actually take that waste yourself to our household recycling centres, to enable you to be able to deal with that. It's unfortunate that this has happened at this time. It's beyond our control with regards to that. And then the other thing to recognise is that we maintained our black bin collections, so they will be collected as normally. And while I wouldn't normally say, there is nothing to stop you using that for food if you need to, because of the situation. And we're also encouraging things like home composting as well, where you can. But I appreciate that's not going to be the same with all types of food. So just to sort of fill you in on that. Is that the only question we've had in, Hannah? You're more than welcome to put any questions into the chat. I'll talk to you a little bit about our new chief executive, because I haven't had the opportunity to talk to you about that. So our existing chief executive, Nick Carter, who has been chief executive here at West Berkshire Council for 16 years, retires in August. And it's been really important to us as an executive team, as a set of members, to make sure that we get the right person to take us forward. So I never hide the fact that I think West Berkshire is a great place to live, work and learn, and I genuinely believe that, and that's why I've lived here for as long as I have. But I always think there's more that you can do, and we can make things greater, and there's certain areas that you can consider we can make things greater. So it was really important that we found the right person that I think can drive that vision and ambition, and I'm pleased that through the task group that was set that task, it was a cross-party group, we had some really strong candidates, and we were able to come up with somebody that we feel can take us forward, which is a gentleman called Nigel Lynne. He's the current chief executive at Arran District Council and has been, I think, for the last 8 years. He will be starting with West Berkshire Council in October. So we have a very clear strategy already in place for the next few years. So Nigel will come in and he'll have the opportunity to get to know West Berkshire and to get to know the areas of importance to our residents, while our existing strategy continues. And then it will be working with Nigel to look at, okay, so what comes next? Where do we take the next? We did the 2036 vision for West Berkshire, so the next piece of work around the future will very much be done with Nigel. So I'm looking forward to welcoming you into the area, and I'm sure you'll all join me in welcoming him, because I know West Berkshire is such a friendly place. So I just thought it was worthwhile giving you a quick update on our new chief executive. You're all very quiet tonight, so I don't know if that's the heat taking it out of everybody, or if it's a Monday. The other thing is, I know that 5 o'clock isn't the ideal time, and I think next time round we're looking at putting this into a later slot. So we've heard that evenings, later evenings will work for more people, so we'll certainly look to move these particular slots back. The only other thing I would sort of update you on is we had our executive meeting last week, where we agreed the environment delivery plan. So coming out of our environment strategy, the environment delivery plan, and what action we will be taking over the coming years to meet our declaration of a climate emergency. And I'd encourage anybody to have a look at that plan. It's got some really clear direction in there, which I think is a real positive for us here in West Berkshire. And with that in mind, we're doing quite a bit of work around a greening campaign with parishes. So working with our town and parish councils as well to look at what role they can play. So I think when we talked about our recovery plan, we talked about our three key priorities as education, economic development, and the health of our residents. But we also recognised that we wanted to have a green recovery, that we wanted to do some positive stuff that would work towards our declared climate emergency. And we talked about also capturing some of the positives that have happened over the last 15-18 months while we've been working in this different way. So that is really the sort of summary of where we are with the recovery plan. I don't think we've got any other questions, so I think I've probably talked at you all for half an hour. I'm not going to labour the point. I'm always contactable. Please do drop me an email if there's anything particularly on your mind that you haven't had the opportunity to ask this evening. But if not, I will look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you.